Indian Run is a small stream that runs through Capon State Park in Morgan County. Just a drop in the bucket, really, in the much larger Chesapeake Bay Watershed. But those drops have a way of adding up.
And anything we do on the landscape around Indian Run will influence the runoff from the rainwater that flows into Indian Run. So anything we do in the watershed of Indian Run will affect the water that ultimately ends up in the Chesapeake Bay. So we can either have negative impacts or positive impacts.
Alana Hartman is the DEP's Potomac Basin Coordinator. 8 eastern Panhandle counties, Pendleton, Grant, Mineral, Morgan, Hardy, Hampshire, Berkeley, and Jefferson make up West Virginia's portion of the Potomac River Basin, which is a part of the Bay Watershed. As part of the Bay Initiative, the U.S. EPA established the Chesapeake Bay Total Maximum Daily Load. The total maximum daily load is the maximum amount of a pollutant a body of water can receive and still meet its water quality standards. The Chesapeake Bay TMDL targets 3 pollutants: nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment from sources like agriculture, wastewater treatment facilities, and stormwater runoff.
The reason that nitrogen and phosphorus were identified as the key pollutants to the Chesapeake Bay is that they cause a big bloom of algae in the hot weather, and then that algae dies off, and when the bacteria work on decomposing that algae, they rob the water of oxygen.
West Virginia is currently in the second phase of its watershed implementation plan, which details what the state is doing to meet the goals of the Chesapeake Bay Initiative. But work to improve the quality of water reaching West Virginia's downstream neighbors actually began much earlier.
In 2002, Governor Wise signed a memo of agreement to start working on this problem, and we started telling our permittees in the area, our wastewater plants and industries, that they should be aware that they're going to need to start reducing their nitrogen and phosphorus that's flowing into the local streams. And we started working with watershed groups and making them aware of the issue, because even though our local streams may not have nutrient impairments, we are responsible from the Clean Water Act perspective to reduce those impairments in our local streams so that the downstream waters are protected.
It also meant working with agricultural businesses and convincing them to take voluntary measures.
We all have a responsibility to make sure that the runoff from these properties is not acting like a point source and causing kind of a bunch of pollution in one area flowing into a local stream. And they've known for a long time that there's a lot of practices they can do, like planting trees along streams, moving their feedlots away from streams up to an upland area. For the poultry areas, they can do practices around the poultry house to make sure the runoff is very minimal.
West Virginia's eastern Panhandle counties are also some of the most rapidly developing areas of the state, and with that development comes the challenge of dealing with stormwater runoff, a major contributor to the types of water pollution the state's watershed implementation plan is working to limit. Jim Price lives along Indian Run. He says it's important to take a proactive approach.
With the paving and the cul-de-sac that we have and all the runoff that we get, we've added quite a bit of shrubs and trees when we first built, and it's noticeable how it has held the property together. We also planted quite a few in the bottom area close to the stream, and they're doing very well. And hopefully the runoff that we get through our property and the adjoining property, that'll eventually help with the erosion, because we have had some problems with erosion.
Volunteers around here have done things like tree plantings, because this forest you see here is actually the best condition for water quality. And where we live and where we farm and where we work is usually not a forest. So adding trees can really help bring the landscape back to a condition that is best for water quality. They've also encouraged businesses to do stormwater friendly practices so that more rainwater will soak into the ground and be filtered before it reaches the creek. They do things like permeable pavement and rain gardens, and they capture rainwater in rain barrels and just try to educate everybody about how too much pavement and too many rooftops can really be detrimental to a creek.
And when it comes to education and outreach, local watershed groups play a major role.
It's probably the most important thing that we do, because if we don't have people who understand what's happening and we don't have the citizens or the residents here in the county helping, we can't really do anything.
Gale Foulds is president of the Sleepy Creek Watershed Association. The Sleepy Creek Watershed covers roughly 94,000 acres and includes dozens of small tributaries like Indian Run.
We do a lot of tree planting. We have done stream bank repair. We have done stream channel changing, redesign, and we've done a lot of assessments and surveys to see what we need and where the problems are on the creek. Everything that we do, every project we talk about, we try to be sure that it's understood by all the people we're talking with that it's ultimately reaching the Chesapeake Bay.
And that's ultimately the message. Like individual threads that make up a cloth, the fabric of a watershed is only as strong, as healthy, as the individual headwater streams that form its creeks and rivers. And maintaining that healthy watershed is a responsibility shared by everyone who lives or works there.
West Virginia is blessed with a lot of little surface streams like this, and we're also blessed with these forested mountainsides and undeveloped areas that the streams spring from. So we start out with nice, healthy, clean water, and I think we have a really good opportunity to just protect the health of those streams in our own boundaries before it goes on to the Potomac.
In Berkeley Springs, I'm Tom Aloise for Environment Matters.